When I started to think about the Danish series and started to dig into the Danish culture, the Danish musical culture, I came across a CD by a certain Paul von Klenau. It was his 9th symphony, and I immediately fell in love with this music. So I tried to find out if he had written some opera. Actually, he has quite a few. On Rembrandt and Elizabeth I, and I looked into the archives to find the scores. And I was immediately drawn to Michael Kohlhaas because I think it's one of the most relevant and thrillingly contemporary novels in history. And yeah, when I looked at this score, I found that the music is extremely interesting. The libretto really does justice to this great Heinrich von Kleist novel. So I decided this would be our number 2 in the Danish series. Now, after working on this piece for 6 weeks, I can only say that it's one of the most thrilling operas that I have discovered, and that we would like to present to you, because we feel that this is not just something strange from a long forgotten period, but it's really a masterpiece of modern opera, somewhere between expressionistic opera and late romantic opera, adding these very strange and fascinating archaic touches by this old music that he includes. And I also think that this very dark road movie that it is, this spiral down into hell, is something that is theatrically captivating in a very special way. And so I'm very happy to be able to present this opera to you for the first time in nearly 90 years.
Hi, I'm delighted to be a part of this project. It's the rebirth of Michael Kohlhaas, an opera by Paul von Klenau, which wasn't played for decades. I say this not only as a conductor, I say this also as a reader of German literature, and as you know, this novella by Heinrich von Kleist is one of the most important and most famous pieces of literature in German language. The opera was written in the 1930s, and it's musically sort of a missing link maybe between free atonal or free tonal music and Arnold Schönberg's 12-tone technique. Klenau studied with Schönberg and was quite familiar with composers of this circle. He was a very close friend to Alban Berg, and he was acquainted with Richard Strauss. Klenau uses the 12-tone technique freely. He is not a slave of this technique. He uses it freely, and he combines it with major-minor tonal music, and he uses it in a way as Alban Berg did it in Wozzeck. There are some 12-tone scales which are part of the characterization of the figures in his opera. For example, the very beginning of the piece shows the Michael Kohlhaas thema, which is the first and mostly heard 12-tone Reihe in this opera. And Klenau uses old forms in this piece. For example, a Palestrina motetta, for example, folk songs for the chorus, for example, a Bach fugue in the style of Bach in the scene with Martin Luther. It's anachronistic in a way, but he uses it in a very postmodern way. He creates his own style out of music from the last 5 centuries, you can say. Yeah. The orchestration, speaking about the orchestration, we have an Richard Strauss-sized orchestra, we can say, but it's not that glamorous, a virtuoso as Strauss did. Following the novella by Kleist, it's more dark and more harsh and more I want to say, brutal in some way, when it has to illustrate the suffering of this man and the injustice under which this man has to suffer in this piece. So I think that this opera is as many of the pieces we rediscovered in the last decades, think on Schreker or Zemlinsky or Korngold, verse to be played. It's a piece which shows that we have many different styles and many different opera music around Richard Strauss or Puccini or the Vienna Schönberg Schule, and I think therefore this rebirth of Michael Kohlhaas is a great thing. An opera which deserves to be rediscovered, because of its richness of different styles, because of its richness of different characters, and because of its really truthful interpretation of this important novella by Kleist. We have 4 acts, 18 different scenes, and this opera has a very, very fast tempo. I don't mean a musical tempo, I mean a tempo in telling the story. So it's a sort of a breathless adventure the audience will have, and I can promise it's a great experience, and you won't be disappointed.